He had instructed his wife to take out Waqf-e-Jadid contributions from the daily income. When he calculated at the end of the year, 550,000 rupees was collected for Waqf-e-Jadid, and he contributed this all for the next year. He said that instead of 10%, I will offer 25% of all income from my business to the Waqf-e-Jadid. Then, staying in India, Inspector Sahib Waqf-e-Jadid narrates that in March 2011, I went to Jamaat Ahmadiyya Batari in order to prepare the budget of Waqf-e-Jadid. When I appealed to a lady and I gave her the examples of the Ahmadi and Muslim ladies' sacrifices of life and wealth, she pledged to give the equivalent of 1 month's salary for Waqf-e-Jadid. She was a teacher of low standing. She did not have any exceptional salary as if she was living a very comfortable life. She had a salary of 5,000 rupees which she wrote down as a pledge. He said, I reached then another place where her father lived, who was a Sadr or the president of the Jamaat. I mentioned to him that your daughter has offered great sacrifices, and he started crying profusely in delight. He summoned his eldest daughter and said, your sister has made this and this sacrifice. You are elder than her. What do you have to say about this? So that daughter immediately increased her pledge by 1,000 rupees, considering the fact that she was elder and saying that I must give more. Now look at those who entered into Ahmadiyya just a few years before, their devotion and sincerity, and also their zeal for offering sacrifices. Amir Sahib Mali relates that an Ahmadi friend of our Jamaat works in the Union Council. His name is Taravri Sahib. He is regular in offering chanda and he's at the forefront of giving financial sacrifices. He mentioned that in order to carry out the work of the census, a team of 32 people was formed. It was said to them that you would have to work constantly for 1 month and you would not have a single day off. They were told that they would receive 100,000 francs CFA for this. Hazur says that every member of that census team was offered 100,000 francs CFA for carrying out this work. So he says, we pledged that we would carry this out, and there were only 6 days left for the work to end. When the Fana region Ijtima came about, in fact, it was the Jalsa. He said, first I pondered apologizing to the Jamaat and not attending the Jalsa. But then my heart decreed that I must give precedence to Jamaat work. This is the pledge that I made. The work of God would take priority. Even if I did not receive 100,000 francs CFA, then so be it. So he said, I left that work and I made the plan to go for the Jalsa. My other colleagues reproached me severely that why are you losing out on this money? He said, when I departed from the Jalsa a week later, the mayor of the region said that you broke the contract and left. But I thought in my heart that you went for the sake of God. So therefore I have set aside 100,000 francs CFA for you. Come and take it from me. After this, he says that the deputy mayor called me, who was a supervisor of the work. He also said, although you left, somehow the thought has embedded itself in my heart that you should receive the amount, and he also gave him 100,000 francs CFA that I have set this aside for you. Then the in charge of the accounts called him to the office. He also gave him 100,000 francs CFA and said, because you were absent, this is why I have set aside 100,000 for you. So take this now. But do not tell anyone about this. All 3 of them said, do not tell anyone else. When he asked the other colleagues, he found that all of them had some money deducted from that amount they were due, and not a single one of them received a complete 100,000 francs CFA, whereas I received 300,000 francs CFA. And this only was as a result of giving precedence to the faith over the world. Promptly, he gave 20,000 francs CFA from that amount that he received and gave it towards Chanda. Then there is another example, and this is from Gambia. Amir Sahib Gambia writes that one day an Ahmadi friend, Kotu Turalve Sahib, came to my office. He said that he wished to give 1,000 dalasi by way of chanda. He said, I can be indebted to people, but not to God. Amir Sahib says that he is very poor and also underprivileged. With great difficulty he supports his family. Yet, in financial sacrifices he always complies with the nizam, the system of the Jamaat, and he is always prepared to give something or the other in this way. After some time he mentioned that after giving 1,000 dalasi in Chanda, just a short duration after, he received a greater amount from somewhere else. He says, it is my belief that whenever anyone spends in the way of Allah the Almighty, Allah gives in accordance with it. In fact, He gives even more. Hazur says, therefore, this is giving precedence to Allah the Almighty over personal desires and also personal longings. This is an account from Sierra Leone. I have just selected a few accounts from certain countries, whereas there are actually countless accounts received through the reports. So the missionary from Makini in Sierra Leone relates that Kamara Sahib is a sincere and devout Ahmadi, but financially he is not very well off. I went to his village for the collection of Tariq-e-Jadid Chanda, and I discovered that he still had some arrears in Tariq-e-Jadid, and the year was coming to its end. When I went to his house, Hazru says, here we cannot envisage the state that they were in that house. So he says that at this time I only have enough money to buy 20 cups of rice so that I have enough food for tomorrow in the household. Hazru says that he said that I have only so much income to make arrangements for food until tomorrow for my family at home. Otherwise I have no other means. But he said, I want to give this to cover my arrears. He did not care at all. He said, I have explained to my wife and children that Allah the Almighty will make arrangements for the food Himself. He said on that same night, one of his sisters sent them a sack of rice from a neighboring village. God the Exalted in this manner provided for them. From Ivory Coast, the missionary writes that a new convert Khadim, Harun Sahib, in the Sandra city, is involved in the egg trade or business. When the local mu'allim or teacher inculcated him to go to the Tarbiyat center to obtain Tarbiyat, that is moral training, so he immediately prepared, and with another colleague, he went to the Tarbiyati center in Ambingro. He completed a 3-month course there and found out more information and details about Ahmadiyyat. He went with this consideration that I am going for the sake of Allah the Almighty. I put my trust in Allah the Almighty and I entrust my business with my younger brother. And he had this hope and this expectation that Allah would not let his business fail. After completing his 3-month course, when he returned, he said, I was astonished beyond all bounds that my business was churning out an extraordinary amount of profit, such profit that I'd never received while I was physically present at my business. So he increased his chanda from 500 to 1,000 francs. Then Allah the Almighty blessed that further. So he increased his chanda further, and now with the grace of Almighty Allah, he gives 4,000 francs monthly. In the chanda of Tehreek-e-Jadid and Waqf-e-Jadid, he does not only contribute himself, but rather his bereaved parents who perhaps were not Ahmadi, he also pays on their behalf and includes them in this way. Indeed, he was a new convert, so his parents were most certainly not Ahmadi, so he gives on their behalf as well. Amir Sahib Burkina Faso writes that in the Bobo city, a new convert, Daralvi Suleiman Sahib, says that I heard in the Khutbah Jummah, the Friday sermon, regarding the importance of Waqf-e-Jadid. So the entire night I was unable to sleep. That Jamaat Ahmadiyya is carrying out such great services and I am not fully participating in this. So the next day, he gave 4,500 francs sifa in the local currency for Waqf-e-Jadid. But the next night he was still restless. He came to the mission house and he gave 4,500 more. He said, now I am satisfied. The missionary in charge from Switzerland writes, an African Ahmadi friend who is from Nigeria, his name is Adris Sahib. He works in a multinational company. When he came to Switzerland, he gave a lump sum of 9,000 Swiss francs to the Jamaat accounts. He also left his telephone number and name. So the missionary Sahib says, when I saw the name, it seemed like a new name, and I was astonished that who is this person. When I contacted him via phone, I asked him that you have sent such a large sum. What is this for? So he responded that it has been 3 months since I have come to Switzerland, and I am sending my chanda. So the missionary said that you have sent more than 3 months chanda. He responded that for 6 months I was in such a country where there was no Jamaat, and that chanda is also in arrears. This is why I have given this lump sum, that is 9,000 Swiss francs. Hazur says, so this is the standard and level of faith in such persons, that even if people are not aware, Allah the Almighty is aware of everything. This is why we should never be in arrears or indebted to God the Exalted. Then a Pakistani Ahmadi friend works in a company in Switzerland. He had pledged 5,000 Swiss francs towards chanda. He was hopeful of receiving a bonus of 5,000 from his company. However, he had also considered that when I received the bonus, I would also have to spend it on certain